set also will work for the code and even list also will work. But you guys need to have a clarity on what to use in this situation. Should I use list or should I use set? So can anyone tell me what is the reason we should use set only, or what is the reason we can use list also? Or in what situation I can use list and in what situation I can use set? So last class, I think I had used set function, right? So set function also. Yeah, set object has no attribute called as append. So what is the error here? Res dot append of 5. So do we have append function in set or not? Yes, very good. So result dot add. When you are using set, you have to use add. Correct. So this difference you should have a clarity. What function to use for what particular method. So set methods in Python, right? The set doesn't have anything called as append here. Correct. So when you're using append for the set, it doesn't work, whereas list has append. If you see list methods, see the first function itself is append, adds an element at the end of the list, right? So similarly, so add method will add an element to the set. Okay. So you should know what function to use for what particular type of collection. Okay. So here my next question is, uh, when I'm using set also the code will work. When I'm using list also the code will work. So can anyone give me the clarity which one to use? Are you getting my point? One. So can I use list here? Okay. So here also it is working. I want someone to see what is the best option here in this case. So when you have this kind of doubt, just explore which one is better in Python, set or list for traversal, correct? So you can try to analyze these kind of questions and do the self-learning, right? So one of the major advantage using sets data storing tool in Python or list is that it offers highly optimized method for checking the presence of specific item present in the set, right? So one of the advantage again, optimized, correct? So here the Google itself is giving you in the first line, the answer is which one is better to find the element in the array when you want to just check whether the element present in the array or not, which collection is better. Sets are better, right? Because the list takes more time compared to the set, right? So when you see this code, the overall complexity of this code is O of n square, O of n square. So the reason being, you are traversing the array starting from 0 to the last element, and you are also checking if that particular element is present in this second array, right? So there are two arrays. So this first for loop, you are checking whether you are reached the end of the array or not to find that duplicated element. And the second condition, if I in res, that means again you are checking whether that particular element is present in the this result array or not. Again, you have to check from how many elements are there starting from 0 to n in the second array. So overall, you are traversing the array 2 times. That is why the overall time complexity increases to O of n square. Correct. So though this code is working, this may not work in all the platform because of the time complexity issue. So you need to be careful about what to use before applying the logic, right? Now, with the same code, if I try to do using set, if I using set for this one, okay, set, here I have to change it to result dot add. The time complexity reduces to O of n. The reason is, okay, so duplicate element is 6. The reason being, you can check time complexity of set in Python. See here. So according to Python, time complexity set is implemented as a hash table. So you can expect to look insert delete in O of 1 average. See, by default, set will take always O of n to find the element in the array. The reason being, the data is stored using hash table. Hash table in the sense, for every index, there is a corresponding element that is stored inside the memory using hash table. So you will learn hash table in your data structure in the coming sessions in your academics. So I don't want to go in depth into that. So just explore what is hash table. So hash table is basically like your key value pair only, just like a dictionary. Correct. So for every key, there is a corresponding value. So in general, no matter how big the data size is, set always takes to just look up in the sense searching. You want to search, you want to insert, you want to delete. The average time complexity is O of n only. Okay. So similarly, you can check time complexity of list in Python in general. See here. So for list, to insert O of n, right? To get element O of 1 maybe, but to again to search, it is, you can try like this, time complexity of a list in Python to search an element, right? So what it is showing, time complexity is O of n, where n is the length of the list. So the index method iterates through the list to find the element. So the time complexity is linear. So this is using array means. So always in general, the time complexity is O of n only. Whereas set is using hash table. So the time complexity of the set in order to insert, delete, and search is O of 1. So this is a very important difference you need to know. So I'll just mention here for your understanding. So in general, for insert, delete, and search, set takes O of 1 time complexity. Okay, that is the order of growth for the set. Whereas list, for list, it is O of 1, sorry, O of n. To insert, delete, and search. Okay. So now you can ask me, sir, why O of n then in this case? See, overall O of n, because this code will take O of n time, O of 1 time, and this for loop will always take O of n, because you have to go till the end of the array to traverse and see whether I'm getting the duplicated element or not. So O of n into O of 1 is nothing but O of n only. Whereas here, this also takes O of n and this also take O of n. So in general, this becomes O of n square. Correct. So you need to know this kind of prior knowledge before attempting to solve any question. So just randomly solving the problem will not help you to match all the test cases. So you should know why the code is not matching my test case in other platform or during the company exams. So try to see whatever the logic that you are going to apply, is it improvised or not. So nowadays, writing a random code is not going to help you to crack any company exams. It has to be the best possible code. Then only it will match all the test cases. Okay, that is first point. And I asked you guys to implement the same thing using dictionary, right? So here, so using dictionary to find the missing element, right? That's what we did in the last session. So I think already few people solved it in the last 10 minutes. Correct. So, but I told you what is the problem with this code again. So here it is taking two for loops unnecessarily to traverse. So this again can be further improvised. In general, it's not going to make any difference. But if you compare with the different versions of the logic, this may not be more efficient than others, right? So the reason is you are basically creating a dictionary and finding the count of each element and updating it one by one. Then again, using d dot items, you are filtering all such elements which are having the count greater than one using list comprehension technique. This is list comprehension, right? So in the square bracket, I for I comma j in d dot items if j is greater than one, right? So again, this is unnecessary. This can be further improvised as somebody sent in the last session. So what they are doing here is they are not using another for loop to check for the greater than one count for the element. Instead, while adding the element itself, what they are doing, if d of I is greater than one, see after this, before going to the for loop, if any element is greater than one, we are printing that particular duplicated element, right? So this is how you can, again, this can be, mm, you can just come out of the loop, right? Instead of continuing because you are unnecessarily traversing, correct? So with the help of break, again, you are further improvising the complexity of the code because you are not going to traverse and continue for this remaining two elements because I already found the duplicate element here. So you need not to go and search for these two elements. So you can stop your logic at this point itself. So break you can use after this if this condition is true. This is one more way. Yeah, this Vijay Chandra, yeah, this is also fine. If for I in nums, if nums dot count of I, this is again, it's not. Yeah, yeah. So I was about to come for the multiple. I will just complete this one. So let all people understand the what I'm trying to teach here. Okay. So this is the one more option which you guys only sent me, but I'm just improvising that by adding the break statement here. Okay. And there is one more code I saw in the chat box which someone has sent last, right? So here they are not using. Okay, so here they're not using both set as well as dictionary, but still it will work. But as I told you, this is also not going to help you because this solution also has time complexity as O of n square only. O of n square only. Because again, whenever you use list, understand that O of n is in general. And if you're using one, if you're trying to compare or search for the element inside another for loop, it directly becomes O of n square. So here he is basically appending, if there is a element, duplicate element, he is appending into list two. Otherwise, he is appending into list one. But again, he was trying to print the list two directly. What is this line? Can anyone tell me what is this line doing? Why I've added this line? What is the necessity of this line? Suppose if I comment line this, what is the output you will get? You are getting that extra bracket, right? The reason is you're directly printing that list two as it is. So now based on this understanding, what you can say, what is job of this line? You know the join function, right? to print space separated integers. Very good. So join function, basically, we want to convert that list into a normal array without printing the bracket. This is one way, right? So everything should be separated by space. I have to add this extra space here. So here I'm getting 546. Okay, see here, I'm not getting bracket here because I'm converting that list into space separated values using join function. So dot join map, what you're trying to convert that into string, and you can print them as a list. I mean, the list is a reference. Can I use int also? Will it work? So you see, if you're trying to convert that into int, it will not work because you are trying to add each value separated by space. So since space is a string, this int you cannot concatenate with the space. So you have to mention as str only. So here I'm printing all the duplicate elements, right? So this is the another way. Do we have any other method to convert? Yeah, print star list to. Okay, this is the shortest way. So here, what does it do? Unpacking the list. So I think during packing and unpacking, we learned this. Yes, this is one more way. But if people don't know these all these techniques, what is the basic way? You just traverse the list one by one. So you can use for loop for I in list to. What I have to do? Print I and end with double quote. I mean space. So this is a basic way, right? Which we have already seen. Okay. So this is one more way, right? The basic way. So traverse each element from the list and print each element separated by space. So in that way, you are removing the brackets. So you see three methods are there. Whatever you could remember and practice, you can follow that particular technique. It's not necessary to remember everything, but you should know, given the requirement, how to do these things based on the question. Will star list to again. You see both map, star list to for loop, all of them are taking same time complexity. The reason is even this will have to iterate all the elements and convert them to string and concatenate together. Similarly, this internally it will take same time. Even this for loop will also take same time. So while printing the list element and want to convert into string, there is no difference. All of them will take the same time. But only thing is you should not embed one for loop inside another for loop and check whether you're trying to increase the time complexity, right? So printing is not an issue. You can use any method. So hope you got how to be careful about what kind of techniques I have to apply given the suppose these things you will not get in one day. Only when your code doesn't match the test case, that time you have to you should try to improvise. Okay, only when your code doesn't work. So next we were like already Nikhil or somebody Vijay Chandra shared the code here, right? So here what he's doing, yeah, so just quickly we'll go through this question. So what, same thing, right? Here also we're trying to print multiple duplicates. Here also, so what we are trying to print here, multiple duplicate elements in the list, right? So for this also we are using set. The reason being it is having better time complexity. So what is trying to do is traversing the list if nums dot count of I is greater than equal to 2, right? So he's using count function here from the array. Each index is trying to compare if the count is greater than 2, then only is adding into the set and is printing. Okay, so this is for finding the duplicate elements. So let us try to do this in a different way. How to again, this is already optimized. Further, if there is, suppose if they say don't use set, use normal array or normal loop, for loop you can use, right? So that also can be done. So when there is no requirement for the time complexity, you can use any method, correct? So there is no problem. But if they mention that it has to be within O of n and O of 1, then you have to think about the alternative options. So let's see this the same code in a different way. Let's try to do it. Suppose in this case, I don't want to use, you know, set concept or just trying to do it by brute force approach, right? So what we will do, we will traverse the array using a range function. Then for j in range, so what we will do, I will compare each element, right? So if array of I equal to array of j, correct? So what I'm trying to do here is I'm not worrying about how to implement. Generally, whatever comes to my mind, we are trying to do here. So this is like a basic approach without thinking about the optimization. So we'll start with the first element, and that first element we are comparing with the second element. So how we are doing? I will start with 0 and j will start with I plus 1, that is 0 plus 1. So every element we are trying to compare one by one. So if array of I equal to array of j, so then what we will do, set one dot add. What we have to add? Array of I, right? So that is the element which is duplicated. Then immediately I will break. Immediately I will break. Sorry, semicolon. Then we will check if there are any elements in the set, right? Then we will print duplicate elements in the array R. Okay. So I want to print no duplicates. This also you should consider as a edge case, because what if there is no element, duplicate element itself? Yes, so sorry. The name of the array is nums, right? So I have to use nums everywhere. Okay, so you can see all of them are unique elements, so no duplicates in the array. So that is the edge case. Now you are trying to print duplicate elements in the array. So this is one way of doing it, or else you can follow this approach what Vijay has sent. So basically, you are counting the number of frequency of each element in the array count. Then if it is only greater than or equal to 2, then only we are adding into the set, then printing. So this is the easiest way. Suppose initially if you couldn't think about this count function, you are not getting that thought that okay, I have to use count function, then you can try to use brute force approach. Try to compare each element one by one, right, manually. Then only when there is a duplicate, then you can add that element inside the set. So this is also possible, correct? So but again, this I won't suggest it, because since you are using for loop two times inside the code. So the time complexity increases to O of n square, whereas this will take O of n. So this code is having a better, performance compared to this one. Okay, so let's give you a chance to do this thing, same portion differently. Now you guys take some time. Don't just send me the code directly. When I ask only, you send it one by one. Okay, so don't post the code directly, because I feel everyone needs some time to think about the code. So if you know it also, don't send the code. Only when I ask you, you just send the answer one by one. I mean, when I want to type, then you can send only that part of the code what I am asking. So the next question which I want you guys to solve is, this is exactly reverse. Okay, so try to do this using set. So now you know that set is very useful for these kind of questions. Duplicating, removing duplicate, finding unique elements. So which one is better? Set is the perfect collection framework for working with this kind of questions. So now try to develop a code for this question. What I'm expecting is exactly reverse of the first question. So remove all the duplicate elements and only print the unique elements once, right? Print the unique elements in the array only once, ignoring the duplicates. So it's simple, right? So I feel everyone should be able to do this question. So what is your first line? Same, right? Okay, now I'll ask you just to do the things differently. Anyone can send me. I want to first read the number of elements in the array, then read the elements. So how to do it? First line should be take the input as how many elements you want in the array. Now A is indicating you how many elements in the array. Okay. Now in the next line, I want to read that A elements one by one. So what you have to use for that? So only for this code I want. Don't send me any code. For I in A. Okay. That's all, Shrikar. Send me complete only that part. Read the A elements, A number of elements. What you are telling, Shrikar, is for traversing, correct? Or I in A. Mhm. So I already taught you guys what are the different ways of reading the elements in the, uh, I mean, different ways of taking the input from the user. Hmm. So for I in A, int of input, that's all. Int of input. What is the shortest way I told you? So I'll give you the hint. List comprehension can you use for this? So please brush up or revise all the topics before solving the problems, right? So list comprehension, I explained in one of my session where what are the different ways of reading the input from the user I discussed, correct? So how will you read the element? List one equal to, obviously you have to have a list comprehension. Yeah, this one is already there. List of, again, Shrikar, this will not work because it will read as many elements as you mentioned. I want to read only a number of inputs. Okay, Mani Teja has come up with the answer. Yes. So int of I, this is what I was asking for I in input dot split. Correct? Again, is it correct or wrong? I don't think this will also work. So let's first try this and then print the list. So I'll enter input as 5. So you can see, Maniteja, your code is reading more than 5 numbers. So again, you have to improvise this code. Yes. So you have to mention input dot split where you have to write. This I told you, right? Slicing up to that number only. Okay. So now you see it is reading only up to that particular number. Correct. So you guys need to know how to do these things efficiently. So otherwise, in the initial stage only, we'll get a lot of test case errors. Okay, so int of I for I in input dot split column A. So if you don't want to do like this, so simplest way is for I in, see A is a not a list, right? So somebody told for I in A int of input, like Varsha and somebody sent me, right? This cannot work because A is not a list or iterable value. So only way is that you can find for I in range of n, range of A. So you can do like this for I in range of A. Then you can see what you can do. Read the variable int of input. Then what you can do, take the list one dot append var. This is the basic way, right? So if you don't know this list comprehension technique, this is one more way. So for I in range of A, you have to write not just directly A because A is not an iterable. So if you use range, it will convert that A into iterable value starting from 0. So for every I, take the input, then update that value into the list, right? So instead of writing all this statement, what is the best way? Just use a list comprehension. Again, this can also be written in a different way. So list one equal to int of I for I in range of A. Simple. This is much easier, right? So whatever I wrote here, same thing this line, this code is doing. Okay, so let's check it. Yeah, sorry, for int of I for I in, what is the change again I have to do? See, it is directly taking for I in range of A. Is it the correct way? What is the correct way? So how to further optimize that? I mean, improvise that. Int of I have to change it to something. Can anyone tell me how to do it? Here I have to change it. So when I say int of I for I in range of A, it is only displaying 0 to 4, right? But these values I want to read from the user. So instead of int of I have to change it to int of input. Very good. So int of input, not int of A of I. So int of input for I in range of A. Now this is waiting for me to enter the numbers, right? So let's see, will it take all the values or only first 5 values? Invalid literal. Value error with base 10. Okay, let's just bracket error, I think. Okay. This should work actually. Just let me restart the kernel. Yeah, I'll explain. The list compression, I think even I have discussed in detail in my video also. Just go through in that video. Basically, this is the way you try to use the loop, right? See, the same thing you can replace with a single line inside the square bracket. So X indicates the expression for X in fruits. That is the name of the list. Then we are just filtering out if there is a fruit which has A in it, then you are just extracting that particular element and storing it in the new list. So this is the syntax for list comprehension. First, you have to mention the variable name, index variable name, expression for item in iterable, if needed condition, if condition equal to true. So here I'm not mentioning the condition, I'm trying to read only the value. So let's better, I'll try to delete send. Mhm. Invalid literal for int with base 10. Okay, yeah, sorry. So I totally forgot it. Here, the thing is, yes, correct. So very good observation. So when you are using list comprehension technique, uh, that input will take basically on the new line, right? That is when you are mentioning the range function, right? When you are mentioning the range function, the input has to be entered on the separate line. That was the error. Okay, so that is a good observation, which even I got confused. Yeah. So in that case, this code must work. So sometimes we just get stuck into this simple things and we'll get panic and what happens is we see there is something wrong in our code only, correct? So that is one thing. So again, the this one will take input on the new line. So this one I always forget it. So please make a note of that. So when you use a list comprehension to read the element, and I think even in my notes I mentioned that using range function, value should be entered on the new line. Okay, so this is normally we tend to do this mistake because we are used to enter all the elements on the same line. Okay, so what is a better way? The only way is input dot split. Now this will read all the elements on the same line because we are not using the range function. Correct. So the only option we have right now is only this one. Okay, so I think in one of my session you can just go through. Mm, yeah, so map eval list comprehension. So this in this video, you have all that ways of reading the input. Okay, so see here. So this is the way: read 5 string value in the list, enter the space separated value. So X for X in input dot split. So this will read the value, but the problem here is it will read as many values as you wanted, as there is no condition how many values to read. So here that is the problem we are trying to address. 5 values if I enter, only 5 elements should be read. Okay, so you can go through. Somebody asked me, right, how to use the list comprehension. You can go through in this video. You can revise whatever I've taught there. As you are doing it for the first time, you'll get a lot of confusion in terms of syntaxes. So you need a regular practice to remember or understand whenever you get error. Yeah, this is what I explained. If you are reading on separate line, you have to use range function. Correct. So here I'm entering all the values on the separate line. So just fast forward and try to practice the syntaxes. See the video and type it by yourself and check where you are going wrong. And definitely you will get much more clarity. Okay, this is what you need to observe. I think, yeah. So in this video, please go through this particular point. Use the list comprehension technique to read values on the same line, right? So this is what you need to revise, how to do it on the same line. So here what we are doing, we're just printing the elements using list comprehension. But the question is, you have to read the element on the same line, correct? So here I've explained whitelist, backlist concept. So using input dot split only, you can read all the elements on the same line, right? So hope you got some clarity when to use what function. Okay, so we'll come back to our question. Yes. So let's continue with our question. What was our question? Find the unique elements in the array, ignoring the duplicates, right? That's what we are trying to do. So let's just continue with that. So now we have read the element. So if I enter 6 as the input, 1, 2. Sorry, again, I'm making the same mistake. So I have to enter all the elements on the same different line. Yeah. Okay, so the list is printing. Let's continue with this logic. Tell me next what we have to do after this. Directly insert. Okay. Set of map of input dot split. Okay, fine. But again, if I don't want to use set, or else after converting after reading the values, you can convert that into list, I mean into the set. This is also possible, right? So 5, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 3, 3, 4, 4. Correct. So I entered, this is also comment line. The number of element is 5, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. So what is the output I'm getting? Unique elements only once, ignoring the duplicates. So only 3, 4, 5 is printed. So that is very straightforward using set you can do. Correct. So when you convert a list into a set, by default, what does it do? It removes all the duplicate elements. So this is a straightforward question. So there is no, logic in this. If you remember how the set works, correct. So it will display all the unique elements. Suppose if the question says again, since it becomes very easy and straightforward, right? So how they will manipulate the question is, don't directly read the elements into the list, correct? So they, I mean into the set. So they will say first you iterate over the list and then add the element into the set and then print the element. So for that, what you have to do for I in list one, list one is iterable, right? So I can directly use for I in list one. You can take one more array, I mean set, result equal to set. So empty set we are creating here. Then what you can do, you can add all the, for I in list one, you just keep adding the elements. List result dot add I. Okay. So you will keep on adding the element into the set one by one. And as you know, set will ignore the duplicate elements while you are adding also. Then you can print the unique elements separately. Print unique elements. So what you can do for I in result, print I and equal to space. Okay, so unique elements I'm getting as 1, 2, 4, 5. Now see, instead of using directly set here, we didn't use it and convert that list to set. Instead, we are iterating over the list. Then one by one, we are adding the element into the set. So what does the set do is, if there is any duplicate element appearing in your list, it will by default ignore it. Then you are printing that output. So this is also, you should know, if there is a restriction on, don't use the set directly. Correct. So like this, based on the question, you have to use whatever the approach you are able to understand. Okay. Now there is one more way they will ask. So you know the different mathematical operation that set supports, correct? In the last to last session, we discussed using set operation difference, right? So there is a difference operation that is supported by set. So the same code you can use. Okay, so what we are trying to do is the same problem. We are trying to do it differently. Not necessary to do it, but if they mention that you have to use set operation to find the unique elements, if that is the condition. So you should know this approach also. So what I'm trying to do here is creating two empty sets. Okay. Then iterate over the list for I in list one. That is the name of the list. So what we will do, if I in result one. So what we will do is result one dot add I. So basically result one is keeping track of the duplicate elements. whereas result 2 is keeping track of unique elements. Okay, so if I in result 1, correct? What we are doing, I mean, okay, here for your understanding, I'll just mention the name as result 1 is keeping track of unique elements. Result 2 is keeping track of duplicate elements. So if the result, if that particular element is already in the result 2, that is in this set, right? What we will do, we will update that particular element into if I in, sorry, if I in unique elements, right? That is result 1 unique. If it is already present in that unique element list, so we will update that into duplicate. It's simple. We'll compare whether that element is there in the unique element already. Then if it is repeating, we are adding it to duplicate element list. So otherwise, we will update into unique element list. Okay. Yeah, as I told you, it will work, but don't use list operation for this kind of questions. You understood in the beginning only. I think I elaborated enough why you should not use list, because the list is consuming more time compared to list set. Okay, so then just observe what I'm doing. So this for loop can have else condition, right? If this for loop ends after iterating over the list 1, in the else part, finally we are updating the remaining elements into the unique elements. I'll show you what this particular code is doing. So first we will print the elements. This first let's enter the number of elements. Four. Okay, 1, 3, 2, 5, 6, 3. Okay, sorry. So now you just observe what I printed. I am printing unique elements list and I am printing duplicate element list, both in the same code. So using set operation only, we are not using a list here. So using same code, we are trying to do both the operations. So here this is printing unique element list and this is printing duplicate element list. So at this point, we are having the separate list for unique and separate, separate set for unique element and separate set for duplicate element. So it is working, right? So 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 and 1. 1 is the duplicated element, both we are printing. So we have to continue the operation. Correct. So print single unique element. That is the next question, right? So whatever the single unique element list is there, so you can just difference of two sets you can use. For example, now let us add some other values here. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. This is my input mains. Okay, so what is happening here? This is printing unique element list. This is printing duplicate element list. So now let us try to take the difference of these two sets. So DIFF equal to unique element array set name is res1 unique minus. So I taught this particular thing during the mathematical operations of sets. So can anyone tell me what is the result of this minus operator? So set methods are there, right? See here, difference function. So minus you can use. So what does it do? It returns a set containing the difference between two or more sets. So to understand this, just revise this. So x dot difference of y you can use directly, or else you can use x minus y. So for example, here you see set A is having Apple, banana, cherry, and set B is having Google, Microsoft, Apple. So what it is printing? A minus B. What it is printing? It is only printing banana and cherry. What is the reason? It prints all the unique elements that are there in set A, not in set B. That is what, right? So what are the unique elements in set A? Only banana and cherry, because apple is repeated here. So and it will ignore the remaining elements that are there in the B set. Correct? So you have to revise this particular operation. Okay. So let's try to print what is the output of difference. Okay. Now you can see what exactly I'm getting here output. I'm getting 3 and 4. Why here? Or you can just for your understanding difference of two sets is. So why I'm getting only 3 and 4? The answer is this particular function is displaying the unique elements only from set 1, right? Only from this particular set 1, that is unique element list. So basically duplicate element it is ignoring, and it is only printing unique elements set complete list. So this is one way of doing it, correct? So if I do the same thing for this particular code 1 1 1 2 2, okay, I have to enter 6, right? Okay, 1 1 2 2. Why it's comment line? Yeah. Okay, now the problem, I mean, not the problem, the scenario you can see here, this particular code is printing all the unique elements in the array, ignoring the duplicates. That means it will also print the duplicate, correct? Whereas this particular operation, what we are doing here is only printing the unique elements, correct? Only 3 and 4 it is printing. So 1 2 also it is not considering. So basically this is how the questions will be twisted within the constraint. I mean, the same question can be asked in a different way. So here we are printing all the unique elements, even though it is duplicated. We are ignoring the duplicate and considering it as a unique element. But here we are totally deleting the duplicate elements and trying to print only the unique elements from the array, right? So you can use set operations for this kind of question. So minus means it will only print all the unique elements from this particular set, ignoring the completely deleting the duplicate elements from this set. Okay. Any doubt in this code? Now I want the answer from you guys. What is this else is doing here? See, this else is repeated here also, here also. Can anyone tell me why I have written this twice? What is the reason? So whether is this else part of this for loop or it is outside the for loop? So in Python we can combine for with else, right? We can combine for else loop. In Python we have a concept of for else. So what is for else? So whenever the program, the for loop successfully iterates over the range, then it will go and print else part. Suppose if I break immediately, see what is the output I'm getting? Only 0. So for with else, I already told you in the initial classes. So what is the syntax of for else? Only when the for loop successfully completes its iteration, it will execute the else block. Here, what is the problem? You are breaking it immediately after printing the first value. So else block will not be executed. So I'll remove this break and I'll rerun it. all the values will be printed from 0 to 5, and this also will be printed. So for with else means what? The else keyword in for loop specifies a block of code to be executed when the loop is finished. Loop is finished in the sense successfully finished, not just randomly come out of the loop. It has to be completely iterated throughout the last value, right? Only then the else block will be executed. So that's what they are explaining here, right? So if x equal to 3, break. So you are breaking it when the x value reaches 3. So that's why this else block is not getting executed. So if the loop breaks, the else block is not executed. So that is the syntax of for else. So with that clarity, now you can think why I have added this one. Anyone can tell me? So you have to trace the code and understand how it works. So already mentioned here. Suppose if I remove this, just try to find the elements. Will it work or not? And check. Yeah. So no problem with this. Okay. So when all of them are unique, still the difference of two set is it is printing all the unique elements, correct? So yeah, somebody is replied if I is not there in res unique dot add of 5, else works. Okay. So what do you mean by that? Anyone? If I is not there in res1 unique, else works. I mean, yeah, this I'm not talking about this else. This else. So is it necessary in this case, or should I just delete it? So this is the question I'm asking you guys. Try to think over it. Why I have added this. So take it as an example and try to analyze why, what is the need of this. If it is not required, you have to justify why it is not required. If it is required, you have to justify why it is required. But I have added it for your understanding. Whether it is required or not, you guys try to find the answer. Not required. Lakshmi is telling not required. Okay. So if I print something else, see here. So is this else executing in this case? Yes, because we successfully iterated over the list, correct? So if we exit out of the list, then this else will not execute because we successfully iterated till the last value. This DGG is printing. But what is the syntax I had added? Unique dot result one, unique dot add I. Result one. Okay. So basically, this is not required actually. So for with else, just I wanted you guys to understand whether can be combined or not. So these are part of the same syntax, right? Not always required else, right? So if you want to combine it, you can use it only when you want to print something, some output for the user to understand for loop executed successfully. So even when you try to trace over for this particular logic, suppose 1 1 2 2 3 is your input. So initially this is empty, right? Result one unique is empty. So you will add uh, unique element list. So unique element list, you will add one. The next element that is coming is one. So since it is already there in the unique element list, so you will update into duplicate list. So one will go to the duplicate. Then again, two will go to unique. Again, this two will go into duplicate. This three will go into unique. Then since the for loop successfully executed, now compiler will come to else block and it will again try to add result one unique dot add of I. So what is the last value that we iterated? This one, right? So though it is trying to add that value, it will not be added into unique list because it is a set. So set will ignore this second time when you are updating this add. So it will delete that, right? So even though you are writing this, it has no effect on your code. So I just wanted to make you understand how to analyze the code and find out whether something is required in my code or not required. So same thing is duplicated here. Correct. So now we have unique element list and duplicate element list. Then when we are taking the difference of both of them, so it is the union operation, right? So so not union, difference means intersection we are doing. So we are trying to find out what are the elements that are unique in this particular unique set compared to the different set. So these two will cancel out and only three will be printed on the output screen. So this part of the code actually is not required. So if you think it is required, it is not necessary. Okay. So let us try this with the different input combinations. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So what is the unique element set I'm getting? 11 and 22. Okay. So 44 and 55 are duplicated. And when I take the difference of both the sets, I'm getting 11 and 22 because these two gets cancelled out. So that part of the code actually may not be required. So basically for and else should be used only when you want to print something for the user to understand. See, finally finished. So only when it is successful, if you want to print some output message to the customer, you can use that else block. Otherwise, it is not necessary. Now, let me just modify this code. This one, okay, 1 minute. Okay. Now the same question they might ask you in a different way. So for your understanding, I'm just writing here. Okay. So what is happening here? Now we are having two unique elements in the array, right? After taking the difference. Sometimes they ask you out of two, print only one. So what we are doing, pop function we are using. So you know the Python set methods, right? So what does pop do? What does pop do? Okay. So removes an element from the set. Does it remove last element? Ted is telling not last element, but see the syntax. The pop method removes a random item from the set. This method removes random item, right? So though you are getting 3 in my case, okay, so it may not be always 3, right? So let me do some other input. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it is popping actually the random element. So you don't get confused that it is removing the first element always. So dot pop means it is just taking out some random element. So they will ask like this. So don't print all the unique elements, just print only one. So in that case, first you have to find out all the unique elements, then just print out the only one single unique element. Okay, so this is the type of question which you need to know. Duplicate element, finding the list of duplicate element, and unique element, finding the list of unique element. Okay, so you also saw how to find out list of duplicates elements also. Here we saw a single duplicate. Here we are saying the list of duplicate elements. Similarly, single unique, multiple unique elements. Now one more famous question is there which I wanted to discuss. Find the missing number in the array from the range 0 to n. Okay, this is the question. Find the missing number in the array from the range 0 to n. That means I will give you a number. Say, for example, if the number is 5. So what is the range from 0 to 5? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that is the range, right? So now what we will do is we will enter the list from the user. We'll take the list from the user. Then we will ask the user to enter the range. Okay. So for example, if the user enters the input as 3 or 4, take for example 4. So he will enter 0, 1, 2, okay, 0, 1, 3, something like that. 0, 1, 1, 3, something like this. So what number is missing in this range? Are not up to 4? Yeah, including 4. From the range 0 to n, in the sense equal to n. That means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Correct. So suppose in that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if the user enters like this 0, 1, 1, 3, 3. So what number is missing in this case? 4 is missing, right? 4 has to be there in this particular list. So range of the numbers, if you take first 10 numbers, that means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If any number is missing in that range, we have to find that particular number. Okay. So if I give 50 as the input and starting from 0 to 50, in between, if there is any number missing, means you have to find out which number is missing. So for your understanding, just I'll take some input. Okay. So what you want to do is, what number is missing here? Just think. This is my input list. What number is missing in the range of 1 to 9? Yeah, so yeah, 0 also I have to use. Okay, sorry. So assume that 0 is there. Now 6 is missing, right? Correct. So that is the question. So you have to find out between the 0 to n, the user will enter the number, and if he misses some number, he has to find out what number is missing. And again, you can't take the input something like this 0 1 1 1. You can't repeat the number. It has to be, all the numbers have to be unique, and only one number has to be missed. So that is the question. So input also you should understand clearly. You can't miss or you can't duplicate the numbers except that particular number which is missing. Remaining all numbers should be unique. Okay. So for this, what approach you will generally do without thinking about any optimization? Just basic approach, right? So what you will do to find the basic approach? How will you think about this logic? Anyone? So for this question, there are so many options are there. So in today's session, I will teach you one approach. Okay. So taking to list and for loop with if condition. Yes. So that is called as a brute force approach. If both sets, new set minus n set. I don't know, Ted, what you are talking, because I don't understand this particular approach. Okay, I'm talking about simplest approach where you're not thinking about optimization or anything as such, just solving the problem. Think first, always you should try to understand what you are able to understand. Then the next stage is, okay, whatever I did it, whether it is best version or not. That is the next stage. So as a student, first you have to try to solve the problem, whatever you are able to solve. Okay. So for this, what you can do, all the input, they will give you the n value. So for example, suppose take n value as 5, then I will use the list value as 1 comma 2 comma. So instead of 0 to n, I will give 1 to n, so that it will be easy to understand. Okay, so starting from 1 to 4 5. Okay, so what is my n value? 5, right? So exactly 5 digits should be there, 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. So now in my list, what number is missing? 3 is missing, right? So our job is to identify which number is missing. So in this list, 3 is missing. So user has to identify what number is missing from the list. So as you can see here, it is visible that 3 is missing directly, you can see, but the program has to do that task. So for this, the basic approach should be, you have to traverse the list, correct? Now, when I say the question, 1 equal to n, correct? So equal to n means including that number, including that number. So when you are going for the range, okay, so when you're going for that range, you have to, what should be the condition here? Yes, Vijay Chandra, n plus 1. Why n plus 1? And again, the starting number is 1, right? So for I in range of 1 comma n plus 1. So if I say n plus 1, then only I can go up to n, right? So n plus 1 will not be considered. That means I want to traverse up to 6 so that I can reach 5. Okay, so you can set some flag variable initially so that to identify which number is missing. Then inside this for loop, you have to traverse one more loop for I in, for j in range of, what we have to do? We should see what is the length of A, correct? Or you can directly write A also, because we know how many elements are there. So for j in A, what we have to do? Next thing is just brute force approach, just compare each element. So if A of j equal to I, so what do you mean by this condition? We are checking, right? If we are checking if that particular number is equal to the index, correct or not? So it has to be the same index number. So basically 1, 2, 4, 5 is my input, correct? So I am starting from I is 1. So my index is also 1, correct? Then for j in A, j also starting from uh, index 0 to j is basically starting from 0. So if a of j equal to I, so what is our a of j initially? That is this one. So this a of 0 is 1 and my index number is also 1. Correct? So both of them are matching. So what I have to do, if a of j equal to I, that means that number is existing in my list. Correct? That means I have to set the flag value as true. Then you can break. Then once you come out of that for loop, whenever flag value is not yet updated, if it is still 0, right? If the flag value is still 0, what does we say? We will print that particular index. Print the missing number is. We just print that particular index. Correct? This is the condition. So let's invalid syntax. It's missing here. Yeah, I always miss this in. Colon accepted. If a of j equal to I. Here, right? And again, it has to come inside if condition. Okay. For chain, okay, I have to use range only because we have to traverse starting from first element. Okay. So see this sometimes when you're trying to develop the logic, you will trying to make the mistake, but whenever you are getting index out of range and semicolon errors, you should not panic and try to see where you have done the logic wrong. So here I'll tell you why we have to use this particular syntax instead of directly using a. See, when you write a, you are not going starting from zeroth index. You are just trying randomly and checking whether that particular element present in that array or not. But when you say j in range of length of a, you are trying to find out what is the overall number of elements in that a. Then you are going starting from zeroth index. So range will always start from 0 or whatever the element that you mentioned. If you mention 3, it will start from 0 up to 3. Correct? So we have to compare starting from 0th element and check whether the index as well as the element is matching or not. So now try to understand this logic, what it is trying to do. Okay. So what is our input? 1, 2, 4, 5, right? So for j in range of length of a. So length of a is how much? 4. Correct? So we are going from starting from 0, 1, 2, 3. So we are going only up to third position. Correct. And then for I in range of 1 comma n plus 1, so flag equal to 0. So for j in range of length of a, so j value is initially 0. So we are checking if a of 0 is equal to I. So what is my I value? I value starting at 1. So what is it at a of 0? Sorry, a of 0 is this, right? 1, 2, 4, 5. So a of 0 is 1 and my index value is also 1. Okay. So what we do, that means the element is present. We are just trying to go based on the index order. And if any index is missing, we are telling that that is the number which is missing. Okay. So since 1 and 1, both of them are matching, we'll set the flag value as 1 and we break the loop. That means 1 is already found in the array. So we will not keep looking for 1. Then we'll break the loop. Then before going back to the for loop, correct. Before going back to the main for loop, we will check if the flag value is still 0. So in this case, the flag value is updated. So this condition won't be printed. So we'll go back to the main for loop. Now I value gets incremented to 2, right? Then we will again come back inside this for loop and flag is reset to 0. Then j value again starts from 0th position. Then we are checking if a of j equal to I. So what is our a of j? Again 1 only, but I value got updated to. So this condition is false. Control will go back to the for loop. J becomes 1. Correct. Then we are checking a of 1 with 2. So 2 and 2, both of them are matching. Then flag value gets updated to 1. Then we'll break the loop and again check the flag whether it is 0 or not. Since it is not 0, we'll go back to the main for loop. So in that way, when we do it, what happens? We are trying to find out the missing number. So you can see for the next case, when I value is 3, correct? So when I value is 3, what happens? Correct. So we are checking for index 3 from this J. So we are checking if A of 1 comma 2 comma 3 is equal to 3 or not. Correct. So we don't have the element at all as 3, and that means we don't have the index number 3 in our input. So we will not set flag value to 1 when when the j value is 3. Correct. So we will come out of this inner for loop without setting the flag to 1. Then when we come out of this inner for loop, we are checking if there is flag values updated or not. So when the flag value is not updated, that means that particular index is missing. Correct. So actually you can break here also. See, this also works because we already found out the missing number. No need to go and check for 4 and 5 because the question says only the single missing number. The missing number is only single one. So there is no multiple missing numbers in the question. So if the flag value is still 0 after coming out of the inner for loop, just print that number and break out of the entire for loop. Correct. So this again further improvises your time complexity. So let us try to add some more numbers. So let us take this as 7 and equal to 7. So 1, 2, 3 I will add now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let us delete 5. Correct. So that means 7, 6 is missing, 5 is missing in my list. So what is output I'm getting? The missing number is 5. So the basic logic here is we are trying to compare index position as well as the element value. Both of them should be same. That means the index value should match as well as the element value should match. If it is not matching, that means that is the number which is missing. Correct. So this is a brute force approach. Basically, the thing is we are using two for loops here. So obviously it is not going to be that effective. But still, for the basic learner, if you are able to understand through this approach, it's the easiest way. Correct. Uh, Try to learn this first, and the same thing can be further improvised by using further optimization techniques. Okay. So that is basically using the mathematical formula. Not many people can immediately understand that. So basically, the what is the further updated or improvised approaches? You can take this elements, then find out the length of the n value, find the length of the list, right? So len1 equal to len of a plus 1. Okay. Then using mathematics formula, right? So this we are trying to solve using basic formula from mathematics. What is that formula is? Sum of natural numbers, right? Sum of natural numbers. So you guys know that if you give any range from 0 to 10, what you can do is find the total sum, right? Using the formula, then find out the missing number using the total sum by the sum that is given in the actual list. Okay. So first we will try to find out total sum equal to what is the formula for sum of natural numbers. So you have to find out first n value. So I already found out length. So len1 into len1 plus 1 divided by 2. So, or if you are getting a doubt here, I'll take some other variable name var. So what is the formula for sum of natural numbers? N into n plus 1 by 2. So this will give you the total sum between the range of 1 to 7, including all the numbers, right? So once we have this sum, total sum, we have to find out the missing number, right? So missing number equal to total sum minus sum of what you have in the list. So basically sum of A. So whatever the given list, that sum we are taking, and using this formula, we are finding the total sum from the range of 1 to 7. Then you can find print that missing number. Okay, so what is the output we are getting? 5. So you can try to do this. Just keep adding all the numbers. So 6 plus 4, 10, 10 plus 6, 16, and 16 plus 7 is how much? 23, right? So total sum is for A is 23, and sum of natural number is include 5 also for this range, right? So if you include 5, how much it will be? 23 plus 5, 27, 28, right? So 28. So total sum is 28 minus sum of the list is 23. So 28 minus 23 is 5. So that means this is the missing number in our list, correct? So that is what we are getting on in the output. But this kind of solution, you may not immediately crack it because you should have those knowledge or revision of the formulas. But try to find this kind of logics, or try to take the help of your friends, and or see some optimization videos. Then only you'll be able to understand this kind of techniques. So this is another way where using the sum of natural numbers we are doing it. So I have got a lot of solutions here. I don't know. See, all this thing is not required, Ted, and you send me a lot of complicated code. I don't know. I have to just go through this. So what you are doing here, set of n value minus set of new. Okay. So you just come and explain me this one because I can't understand here. It is looking like a paragraph. Anyway, these two approach, if you know, that is more than enough. This is most optimized approach because you are neither using loop nor using any other set, or memory also you're not utilizing more. But in this case, you are trying to use two for loops. So this will take more time compared to this. So if the question is finding the missing number in the array, just with blind eye, try to use this logic. So that is using the formula sum of natural numbers. So n into n plus 1 by 2. So why I'm using 2 division here? Can I use just 1? You can use it, but you will get that decimal value. So if you use 2 division operator, what does it called as? Floor division operator, right? Floor division operator. So it will round it off to the nearest value, so that I want to print only the integer. Okay, understood? So tomorrow's session, I mean the next week's session, I will give you further 2-3 approaches are there for this. So if possible, try to explore that. But if you can't, if you feel it very tricky or very difficult to follow, just remember this logic, right? So I will give you 2-3 approaches for this, and we will discuss that in the next session. Okay. So new questions I'm just making. By 1 or 2 days, you will see the new questions in your Moodle platform based on all these topics, set, dictionary, list, right? So new questions, I'm trying to write the test cases, so it takes some time. Fine. So I will see you in the next session. Thank you. So one more point I just want to mention is for the remaining set of sessions, these kind of problems only we're going to discuss and understand how to utilize what logic. Okay, then only you will be able to think the code in a different way.